Hello again, I'm Larry Hamilton. Welcome to my YouTube painting channel. Thank you for watching. Today's painting is one we're going to do for our February oil painting class, which is February 19th, 2014. It's a painting of some white birch trees and a snow scene, and I have a different way of creating this painting today than I have other ones, where I take a photograph and use my Photoshop to create a value map. I actually have taken the time to sketch it out, and I have show you a little bit here. I have a sketch pad here that I sort of did a rough sketch, thumbnail sketch. It's a little bit bigger than a thumbnail sketch, actually. So I started with that, and I played around with the design a little bit, and I then decided to turn that into a watercolor, which you can see over here on the far right side. And I use that now as my guide for the oil painting. So the painting is going to be done on gray canvas, or gray gessoed canvas. And I showed you a few scenes in the beginning of me painting the gray gesso on the white canvas, which I haven't shown you before. It's pretty straightforward, just gray gesso with a sort of a special brush. It's a sponge type brush that you can get at most hardware stores. And let that dry for about 5 minutes while I was putting paints out on the palette. And as that dried, then I came back with my white charcoal pencil and sketched in the sketch, which you saw me sketching as well. I don't think I've shown you that before, but again, doing a sketch is sort of boring and time-consuming, so I will probably speed up the video to go through this so I don't have to bore you with that. But the sketch is ready to go, the canvas is ready to go, and my paints are ready to go, and I'll go through the paints very quickly for you here. We're using the Bob Ross paints again, as I've used in previous videos. We're using titanium white, phthalo blue, Prussian blue, midnight black, Van Dyke brown, dark sienna, alizarin crimson, sap green, cad yellow, yellow ochre, Indian yellow, and bright red. And I add one color to my palette from Grumbacher called Grumbacher Ultramarine Violet. That's the paints. The brushes we have are the standard set that you've seen before on previous videos. The 1-inch landscape brush, it's called. We use a number 3 fan brush. We use a number 6 rigger brush. And we use the Bob Ross number 5 painting knife. And I add a couple of brushes one's called a filbert, a number 10 filbert, 12 bright, and the number 10 filbert. I may not use all these brushes, may not use the painting knife too much, but that's what's in my set that everybody in the class has. And so I try to stick with those. I stick with those paints and stick with those colors. And with that said, show you again the photograph of the watercolor study that I did, and we'll get going on this thing. So I'm going to use some liquid white. Again, I will not paint liquid white everywhere as Bob Ross might do, because of the fact I want to keep my sketch on here and know where particular values are going and where particular objects are. And so it kind of helps me keep the painting in the correct design. I'm not trying to guess at where things go when I'm in the middle of the painting. So let's start with our liquid white, and we'll just start loading it on up here. Again, I just gessoed this canvas probably less than 5 minutes ago, maybe 10 minutes now. But it's basically ready to go. This gesso is a water-based medium. It's like an acrylic paint. It's water-based. Wash out the brushes with water, and it's makes a nice mid-tone gray for the canvas, which is what I want. And so I'm just going to paint some of this white here around where these trees are going to go. I actually can paint over the trees as long as I don't forget where they are. I'll leave the base in, and we can at least remember that. And up here, same thing. Paint down to the mountains. There's some mountains in the distance. A couple of pine trees over here on the right side. Some closer trees in this way, and that's pretty much that. Let me put in some liquid white down here where the snow is going to go. This is all snow scene basically, but I'm going to put in a little liquid white here to help the paint flow smoother. Also will help me keep the design in mind. Let's get this done here. I may come back and use liquid white in this little pond that's in the foreground here, but I want to keep the position of it in place so I know where it goes. Pretty much covering most of this with liquid white. A lot of liquid white going in here. All right, that's enough to give me the layout of the colors. Since this is a winter scene, we're probably not going to put a lot of, could put blue sky in it, but I think I'm going to reserve that and make it a little grayer, a little more violet color possibly. So let's take some of our ultramarine violet, put some white down here. Haven't washed out my brush yet. And getting this nice violet color here. We'll start up here and just start putting in our X strokes, more violet. Maybe put a touch of blue in that to change the color a little bit over here. Don't want it to be all the same color as usual. We like to mix it up. Maybe even a touch of black in there to gray it down a little bit over here on this side. So I'm using liquid white that's in the brush, a little bit of midnight black, ultraviolet, and Prussian blue. So there, with big brush strokes, very quickly you see we have a lot of the sky in. I'm going to smooth that out a little bit now to make it a little bit less, fewer brush strokes. Sort of go over it like this. Let's make a nice soft sky. I'm going to put a little more of this violet down over here maybe. Okay, and the white that's in there, we've got some clouds left around. We can leave that in and put some other strokes in here that give us some shadows under the clouds maybe, the black, touch of black. And we'll give a little bit of interest in the sky up here since there's not a whole lot going on in this particular part of the painting. We've got nice trees going up to the top of the painting over here, but let's put a few marks in here, a little more white. Just get some texture in that sky. I'm wiping out my brush, but I'm not washing it out with thinner yet, so it's basically just sort of a drier brush. Still has some paint in it, but okay. All right, that looks like a nice little winter sky. All right, now, the first layer of mountains are going to be, still haven't washed my brush. I'm going to pick up some alizarin crimson, start a little bit of alizarin over here. It's really bright red, so I want to tone that down, put a little bit of blue in it, Prussian blue again, to get a different color violet with maybe a little more red in it. We'll start with that and see what that looks like. So I've got liquid white in my brush, I've got a little of that violet in my brush, I've got now alizarin crimson in my brush, and I've got some more Prussian blue in my brush. And we'll start here and see if it's darker. It's going to be dark enough to make it look like there's a mountain back here. Yeah. I don't have anything on the canvas, so it's going to take more paint here, as we know. So So let's get a bigger pile going here. This big landscape brush takes up a lot of paint, holds a lot of paint in it. I'm leaving room for my tree there. I wouldn't have to. I can paint over it when I get ready to, but I'm just going to leave it that way for now. Smooth these mountains out a little bit. There's some of this color in here. Need a smaller brush. I'm getting into some areas that need smaller paint. I'm going to pick up my filbert, get some more of this color, and change the color a little bit. So I'm just sort of painting in between these trees, the background. As you know, we paint from back to front. Most distant objects first, and move forward in the painting toward the foreground. So with these smaller spaces here, I'm using this smaller brush. Okay, over here we've got some more mountains. We can put a little fuzzy top on them there. They're sort of in the distance. Painting between these pine trees over here. More white, more blue, more alizarin. So just cover the canvas very quickly. See, the horizon line is right about here, but I'm going to put another row of trees in there, so I will state that horizon line again. All right. See what that looks like from a distance. Step back, look at it. Okay. It's all sort of a mid-tone gray. It's almost the value of the canvas. So if we can identify some areas where we might highlight just a little bit, make some of these. As I recall, I want the sun coming from the right, so I want to make sure I don't distort the color pattern back there in the back. The sun is coming from the right, top right. All right, let's hold on that. Next layer is our layer of trees. Get this big brush washed out here and see if we can get ready for more. We'll need it later. Next layer of trees is my, it's going to have some greens in it. There's going to be some rust color in there. So I'll be using some of my browns. I'm going to pick up a little, start with a little of my dark sienna here. Put just a touch of white in that, lighten it up a little bit. Maybe a touch of alizarin in it to redden it up. It's already a reddish brown. But starting in here somewhere, we'll just put in some of these trees that are sort of a reddish brown color. Over there, I want some in here. If I can get them right next to this tree, it'll help make the tree pop out. Parts of this tree right here. But I'm also lightening it, as you may notice. I don't know if it's that noticeable in the camera or not, but as I paint over the top of this, I'm picking up that white that's underneath it, and my paint is getting lighter. So let's darken it up a little more here. Put some Van Dyke brown in there. We'll put a little green in there on top of this as well. So these are still trees kind of off in the distance. Not too specific, just abstract. All right, maybe a few over here, finish that off up there. All right, now let's put a little layer of green. I'm using my filbert only so far. So let's get some green in this brown color, a little more blue. Maybe even a little black in there. Good dark color. And see what we can do with this color here. So if I put these in front of what's there, you will notice that it makes it look like there's more depth in the painting. That's the idea. Over here we got some. Okay, so my horizon line's pretty level across there, which is what I was hoping for. All right, so now I have my sky, my distant mountains, my layer of trees, and let's see, maybe we'll put in these. There were some other trees that sort of stick up here like this. My pine trees that were sort of in this area. I'm using some of that same color. I added a little more brown to it. I'm going to put a little ochre in it. This again is a different technique than typical Bob Ross painting, where you use the fan brush and make those big pine trees with a lot of zigzag motion. This is all filbert brush, and just sort of mixing the colors up, adding the colors on the brush, trying to put in the colors that make it look like there's some depth. Okay, those are a little closer trees compared to the ones behind them, so we're creating depth with the size of those trees as well. Okay, over here I think some of that color out of my brush. I'm going to go back now and get some white, maybe a little liquid white and titanium white. See if I can get a little layer of snow back here. Let's start putting in. As soon as I put that snow down, I start picking up the green that's back there. So it's going to go all the way across here like this. I may just paint right through these trees so I can keep my line straight. Pick up that green. I don't like that green in there. So go back over it. Back here, let's put in a few areas that look like it might be a path or something walking back there in the distance. You can always take your brush with white on it and flick up like this, and you'll start putting in some interesting shapes that look like snow and trees with snow on them back there in the distance. So this is all liquid white on there now. I'm just adding another layer of titanium white over the top of it. Flick up. There we go. The other thing we can put back there in the distance is use our knife and maybe scrape in a few white that look like maybe some more white birch trees sitting back here in the distance, since this is a white birch tree painting. Maybe there's a couple over here somewhere. So that just scrapes through the canvas and you see the gray or white come through, and you have trees in the background. All right, this is probably looking pretty ugly. I think we're at the ugly stage now. Pick up that green. All right, I can come back and touch that up if I need to. Okay. Dry up my brush and see if I can sort of smooth this out a little bit. There we go. All right, what's on the bottom of those trees? Well, we have some brown trunks. Get my script liner out. Get some thinner in it to make the paint thin. And we're going to come down here and put in trunk for this guy, trunk for this guy. Get some more paint. We got a couple more trunks in here that we might put in. Other trees back here. So we have a little area that looks like you might be able to walk there and get behind the trees. These types of things where the eye sees through to the background are make it painting very interesting. Okay. And we might have some more trees in these areas. I'll just put some other little flick ups. All right, so now the mountains are there, the trees are there. Maybe I'll put a little bit of a trunk that shows through in these trees. Fairly abstract, but you can tell they're pine trees. That's the idea. All right. Now, see how we're doing on time. Not too bad. All right, now the birch trees all have a one side that's sort of white, one side that's sort of gray. So I'm going to see if I can do a double load of my brush. Put some white on one side and some black on the other. And we'll see what happens here. The dark side should be on the left. So I'll just start up here in the sky. It's really dark. Too dark. But you can always go over it and lighten it up. Have another one that goes out like this. I'll just work with the gray to start with here. We have one that comes here like this. Can't see it. It's got to be darker than the sky. I got the dark on the wrong side. Okay, are those starting to look like birch trees? Hopefully, white birch trees. All right. We have another tree that goes in here like this. Birch trees do not change their width a whole lot. They're pretty, almost the same width from bottom to top. They do taper down, but not as much as some other trees that we might paint. One, two. I think there was another one in here actually. Jeez. And it comes out like that. Okay, birch trees are always in a clump, usually in the bottom. The white birch trees, usually in a clump in the bottom. Got a lot of snow to add back in over here. All right, those are starting to take shape. Now we want to put in some more of this white. We need a lot of white. Most snow scenes require a lot of white. just graying this down a little bit, adding some colors to the snow. So we make the brush strokes go up, and then we start putting shadows in here where these trees are. Leave the bottoms rough. Don't try to make them nice and square. Make them all right. Now here we start putting in some of the shapes of the bark on these trees, and I'm going to get a little dark in my brush and sort of make these they can be narrower than that. Helps give the roundedness to them. Putting a shadow in here will help define one of the trees. So we want the left side to be more shadowed than the right in all cases. So just kind of come down the left side and see if we can start making these look more rounded by shading the left side, pulling across some marks that go in sort of a curved fashion. I may come back and have to use my rigger for this. Side of this should be darker right there to make it stand out. So as you see, the shadows are what makes these start looking rounded. Starts giving them a little more of a realistic appearance. Down here we've got some dark that kind of goes in, some shadows. This was plenty dark on this side. That's my experiment with double loading my brush. Some more white on there. So the highlight is going to be on the right side. And all right, step back, look at that, see what it looks like from a distance. Okay, we're getting some definition in those trees. It's all about shadow and light, highlight, midtones. If you can get those right, you can make any subject look three-dimensional or make them look more real. Okay. This area here drops off too much. I'm going to put some highlights in here with just some brush strokes to make it look like we've got sort of an angle, but sort of drifting snow, maybe some more white like right in here. That didn't take very well. Kind of like a snow drift around this tree. Okay. The right side of the tree. Let's see, I'm going to probably need more white. Titanium white is in high demand here. I'm going to get myself a little more titanium white on the palette. Okay, now we've got plenty to work with. Just have to get it off the brush. Maybe a little blue shadows in there. We can start putting a little of that blue, Prussian blue, just very, very, very lightly. Okay. Other little shadows over here. I don't like that green back there. I want that to be bright white. I'm trying to get a band of bright white back here. To help accentuate the shadows and the sort of a fading into the middle ground. Alright, one brush we haven't used for a while is our fan brush. I'm going to get it out and see if I can do a little more work with this snow back here. I like the way a fan, oh my goodness, look at that. There's a mistake. Well folks, let's see me fix that problem. One thing I'll do is just take paper towel and whack it out of there as much as possible, but the violet's not that bad. I'll leave some of it in there, but I picked it up on my brush when I touched my white. I had it too close to my white on the palette, and with a big fan brush it just picked up whatever was close to it, which was ultramarine violet. Hey, we can fix mistakes. Oil painting is one of the most forgiving of all mediums. Probably fix this a lot easier than we could have in watercolor maybe. But it's given this nice soft look to it, which is what I was trying to achieve. Still got some of that lavender or violet in the brush, so I'm just going to take advantage of that. Alright. So this snow is not just white, it's got all kind of colors in it. It's got colors of the green, it's got colors of brown. Okay, that's better. Pick up some and just sort of pile it up on here. More snow is piled up around this tree. Okay. I think that makes a smoother looking snow than using the filbert on it. And I got rid of that big chunk of violet that was over there. All right. Now, can I use it? The question is, can I put some highlights on the right side of these trees that will make them stand out even more? Take the fan brush and just sort of stroke down the right side of these trees. we're going to add some branches and stuff up here to the top, so I'm not going to work on that too much, but I want to make this as clean as we possibly can through here. Okay. Getting close. I think maybe I want to get my script liner out now and work on some of these branches. I'm going to use this sort of a grayish brown color I have. Get thinner on the brush and thin this paint down. But the branches on these trees are typically, some of them are actually brown, some are gray. But we're going to start putting in some like this. Keep going back, getting more paint, more. My brush is splitting apart on me here. I don't like the way that brush is working. Let me try my other one here, see if I can get some better brush, more pointed brush. When the brush hairs start splitting apart like that, you have a little trouble. It starts painting two lines instead of one. That's a little better. Got to keep the brush rolled together so that it keeps a more. More over here. Darken the sides, make sure this is distinct. All right, we'll put a few bushes, or not bushes, but leaves on these trees in a minute. Take this space and fill it out with a little bit. Okay. That will have to do for now. Probably could put a lot more branches on there. Spend a lot of time doing that, and I know it's kind of boring to watch. So I'm not going to mess around with it too much more. I do have another tree that's sort of in this area here. I'm going to stick in right there. Put a couple of branches on him. Okay. Have a base, stick them in the ground. You want to make sure the bases of these trees look like they're not just glued on, or you don't want the snow to be glued onto the bottom of the tree. You want it to sort of mesh together a little bit. Let's see if I can get some there. By just touching that very lightly, it just sort of brings that together. Here, I'm going to bump up the snow a little bit, make this I want it to be a perfect edge. I want it to be rough. There. So we're showing the snow that's sort of piled up around these trees. Maybe hard to see on the video, but what I'm looking at is much better than what was there. Okay. All right, I'm liking that so far. We didn't finish putting in some more of our horizontal marks on these trees to make them look more birch-like. These marks that go around the tree and up make them look like a birch tree. That's what people think of when they see those. I think I took most of them out when I was trying to get the shading in on the left side. So they're just little dots and dashes up here. They're nothing exotic. They're just sort of bumps that make it look like there's some bark breaking open. So I'm just sort of dotting here, curving a few dots and dashes. Down here we probably have some that closer to the bottom. All right, that's a little better. Just making those slight little curves make it look like there's roundedness to it, for one. We have to put in some more shadows here because they are making shadows. Like this. Black and white. Make it so that it's distinct, it looks like a shadow. All right. Okay. That might be enough for the trees. I could come back and put some more highlights on there. If I wanted to take a long time to paint this painting, I would do that, but just hit a few spots here and there's some dry brush. Curve these right into the stroke is going like this. Highlights on the right. All right. Well, all we got left is our water down here and our reflections. So the water is going to be pretty much a dark color. In the winter time, water usually looks almost black in a lot of cases. So we're going to make it look very dark. Taking my midnight black and some of my brown. Let's just start putting in some put some violet in there. See if we can change the color a little bit. So these are just real darks. These are blacks. Using black, Van Dyke brown, a little violet, so this is water. I'm telling you that, but it will look more like water if I put some reflections in there. Before I do that, I want to put in a really dark edge of the bank here. Right here. If I can get it darker than what's there, it will make it look like the edge of the bank. So I'm using alizarin, Prussian blue, black, and even some Van Dyke brown to get this color. So give it a sharp edge at top, hard edge at the top. It looks like the bank, snow is sort of built up. That's the idea. There, we got some over here. Okay, we actually had a rock in there that was sort of laying right in here somewhere. Like that. Maybe we got another rock. Let's put another rock over here just to balance it out a little bit. Okay. I'll hit that with a little highlight in a minute if I don't forget. Make it look more like a rock. But it's got to have the dark values underneath it to make it show that it's in casting a shadow as well. Alright, both of these. Alright, now, so we got two rocks. It's hard to tell those are rocks from the camera, but they are. I'm going to put a little highlight on them in a minute. And let's see, oh, the thing I want to do now, the reflections. Put some reflections in here. I'm going to just take this white. Reflection of this tree would be this way, this angle. If the tree's leaning this way, its reflection of water will be this way. So I'm going to make a mark like this. The ones beside it will have similar marks. This tree leaning this way will have a reflection that goes the other way. So that all helps tell the story. This one has a reflection that will go this way as well. We can make it. So that helps show you that's really water and not just a big black blob of dirt or something. These brush strokes going this way. All right, and to smooth it out, I always take my big brush and sort of give it a nice soft brush like that. Okay. The rock might be putting a little shadow in the water even. We can do this. Pull it down. Vertical streaks, vertical strokes in the painting usually tell you that there's reflection. Even these green trees over here on this side may be reflecting down. Put some vertical marks in here to sort of represent those trees. All of that helps fool the eye, tell the viewer what you're looking at. Easy brush strokes, wipe the brush, take another brush stroke, wipe the brush, take another one. All right. Highlights on those rocks. I wonder if I can use my knife. We may use the knife here a little bit. Let's put a little bit of this white and see if I can put a little highlight right on this rock right here, like that. There. And over here on the other one, I'll just touch in a similar type stroke. Okay, and then if I can use this knife maybe for some more snow here. Put in some bright edges around this snow. It's closer, it's thicker, you'd actually see some texture on this snow. So let's put that in that way with the knife. Over here, let's put a few streaks in over here. I got myself a little bit of blue on there. When I have these paints so close together on this glass palette, so I can get them all in the camera, it's easy to pick up the wrong color. There, I'll fix him. Okay, up here maybe we have some more piles of snow that we want to highlight. It's probably very hard to tell what I'm doing on the camera because of it takes a lot of it out because of the pixel count, but there, that's better in my view. And the only other thing left to do is to put a few of our little I don't know, weeds and sprigs and stuff, and I'm going to get myself some more yellow ochre here, mix a little bit of my dark sienna with it, maybe a touch of white, I don't know. Give myself sort of a brownish ochre color. And in some spots, using this fan brush now with all this paint in it, plenty of paint in it, we're just going to flick in now some vertical things that look like weeds and reeds. You don't have to go over them. If you go over them 4 or 5 times, you'll just mess it up. So just hit it once and take what you get and be happy with it, like that. There might be a few back here, smaller because they're in the distance. Here, there might be some right in here around these trees. You'd expect them to be like this around these trees. Probably even some growing around these rocks here maybe. I hit that about 3 times and it just sort of all mushing together, which is not a good thing. So I'll leave it alone for now. Okay. Alright, so how does the eye travel? One of the things that artists try to do is to figure out how they're moving the eye through the painting. So when you look at this painting, you see, where does my eye go and what blocks my eye? What keeps me from going out of the painting? So I'm thinking I need a little more of this over here so that I don't wander off too far over there. But as I look at it, I see the white here draws my eye in. I start looking, wandering over here, up through, back around. That's a pretty decent painting, I think. Just blend some of this together here. think I'm going to stop. Oh, I didn't put the some of the some leaves and things in these trees. So I'm going to use this fan brush again while I got it before I quit, and just sort of using the fan brush and just sort of tap in a few things. Let these look like might be some leaves still hanging on these trees. Just sort of pull it together. Use the edge, use the top, change the color. I've got 2 or 3 colors in this brush. So as I pop it on there, sometimes it's real dark brown, sometimes it's... All right. So that sort of tied the colors together. It brought these colors up here. Like that. Helps me pull that together. All right. Step back one more time and say, is that enough? I think that's going to do. I'm going to stop on it, and I may touch it up again a little bit, but for now I think I'm going to stop and say thank you for watching again, and I hope you enjoy this painting. I hope you do it with me. If you're in the class on February 19th, I'll be looking forward to painting this again with you, and if you're not, try it on YouTube and give me your comments. Let me know if you have some suggestions, or give me your feedback, what you'd like to see painted, and I'll try to do it for you. I put a painting up about once a month at least, maybe 2 paintings a month, and I really enjoy doing this and letting you see a painting from beginning to end with all the foibles and stops. I don't cut anything out, and so I hope you enjoy this. Keep watching and keep painting. Until I see you again, this is Larry Hamilton saying so long for now. Bye.